Today we are taking a look at an amazing old cemetery. I'm out here with Mr. Dan Briley, and Joy is with us today. This is one that has never before been documented. We're really the first people that are going to be documenting this cemetery today. One thing that I want to throw out real quick is that this is an African-American cemetery. It began as a burial ground for enslaved people on a nearby plantation, but the descendants continued burying here, and this is a huge cemetery. But I think that one thing that's really important to note is that cemeteries like this are some of the most endangered, at least here in the South where these kind of cemeteries are prevalent. In the past couple of months, I have dealt with two different burial grounds of African Americans that started as burial grounds for enslaved people that have been either cut through or bulldozed. And it's two things I get involved in with working to help protect these cemeteries. And so it's extremely important that we document places such as these that have gone all these years and never been documented before. Like I said, today is the first time that there will ever have been any kind of documentation on this cemetery, and I think it's very important. Plus, this cemetery is huge. There are a lot of graves here and a lot of things to see. Let's take a look. All right, so like I said, we are still on the hillside. You can see that's where we walked up, and we've already started to run into graves, and there are hundreds of graves out here. There are seriously hundreds of graves. This one is just marked by a fieldstone, and you can see an indention. And then there's another one, big indention, and it's marked with a fieldstone. But I know that descendants continued using this cemetery up until relatively modern times because of this old funeral home placard here. This is pretty early, I would say 1920s, 1930s to 50s. Would that sound right to you, Dan?
Yes.
And it's also marked with a fieldstone, but this grave also has a cemetery artifact with it. We've talked about this a lot on different videos. This was an old pitcher that was placed with the grave, and as part of tradition in a lot of African American cemeteries to leave water vessels. And these are considered cemetery artifacts, but they're also considered burial objects and protected under Georgia law. Anything that is intentionally planted or intentionally left with the grave is considered a burial object and protected under Georgia law. But there's a cemetery artifact there and another grave. So we'll keep going, and as we walk up this hill, we will see many, many graves. All the way out there, you can see big indention and fieldstone. Like I said, there are hundreds out here. It keeps going all the way down this hill. But we're gonna head up to the top of the hill. And every step we take, we are passing graves. There's one there marked with fieldstone and an indention. And we've got this one. This is a really pretty fieldstone that's planted. And kind of the thing is, how do you tell the difference between a rock and a grave marker? Because this is natural stone, and you can see that this one is planted in the ground. This is not how a rock is naturally in the ground. It's planted upright, and we know that that's a burial marker there. And this rock is also considered burial object and protected under... Oh my God, this has a marking on it. Look at that. It's been carved or something. Dan, do you have your flashlight?
I do.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's carved on there, right?
Yeah. Looks like a H from here.
Line there, line there, and there. But is that? I can't tell if that's... I think that's a carved line too, isn't it? We've definitely got to...
That's a natural line there.
Is it?
But
Okay.
those others are carved.
Oh, we've definitely got to pay attention to these fieldstones if some of them are going to be carved. All right.
And what is the most prevalent name in this cemetery?
I believe this to be the burial ground for people who were enslaved on the Hutchinson Plantation. So
H.
that's right. We've got very few names, but this is on land that used to be the Hutchinson Plantation. And it was kind of a mystery to me where the Hutchinson people were buried, the people who were enslaved were buried. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Here's your light back Dan. Again, all throughout here, indentions. This place is massive with the amount of people that are buried here. It goes in all directions. It's really hard for me to capture all of this on video, but we started way back down there on the side of the hill. We've walked up and across, passing many graves. We're surrounded by graves right now. Big indention there. There's a row. They are all in rows. That's a big indention that Dan's stick is in. And then there's 1, 2, 3, but it keeps going this way.
This has a rock at the head and the foot.
Yeah.
And this one's pretty deep.
Yeah, it is.
Compared to the others.
Now, this place is massive.
It is.
It keeps going. So as we walk this way, I know that they're harder to see, but it keeps going all the way out here. Hard to see on video, I'm sure, but there is an indention right there. There's an indention right there. This is a rock piles on top of a grave. Obviously, we've got field stones at the head and the foot of the graves here. Dan, what's your thoughts on this place? I mean,
well, there's not one name on anything in here, right?
There are some names on some more modern stones.
Okay. I was about to say that this is really, really early because the farther we go up the hill, the more spots, sunken spots there are. And we started off down there where the newer graves would have gone that way. So the first one we came to was the one with the metal funeral home marker. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's the most recent grave, but usually they start at the top of the hill and work their way down.
That's right.
So that's the reason I asked, are there any names any farther up, any markers?
There are actually some kind of interesting names and also grave markers up on the top of the hill. So I want to show you something before we go up there. First of all, the graves keep going. We've probably passed by, what? We've probably walked through 100 graves already,
yeah,
right?
At least.
But look back here. So we are going to get out of the cemetery boundary, and we're going to walk across several terraces. And I just want to show those. So this, like I said, this used to be a really big plantation, and this would have been all farmed. Now up here where the cemetery is, obviously that area wouldn't have been farmed. We did just pass out of the cemetery boundary. But take a look at these terraces here. Some of them you can see a little bit better. But it's just like steps that go down. If you look ahead, you can see it steps down and then it steps down again. You might be able to see them better if I go down and walk back up. You can kind of see, and maybe you can see it there. You see it's kind of terraced and then terraced. And then Dan is standing on the terrace. You see the old terraces, Dan?
Yeah.
It's terraced all the way down to the creek. So I think we've discussed it before. What's the purpose of these terraces?
To prevent erosion and to make use of the land for farming, because most of the land here is hillsides. And in order to farm it, you had to level off areas. And that was done early forms of preparing the land to farm. And Harris County and Talbot County is full of hills. So we see a lot of the terracing method of farming around here.
I really hope that the scope of this place shows up well on video, because it is a massive cemetery. We've stepped back into the cemetery. We've got these graves right here. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4 with field stones. Then up here on top of the hill, there are many graves. Right up there, we've got some through here. There's an indention. right there, just perfectly grave shaped. We've got graves here, just fieldstone markers. There, there. We got there, there, rock markers. Getting really, really thick with graves again. There.
Looks like it has markings
Oh
on
man,
it.
no way it does. I think it does. Oh yeah, we got something on that one.
Hold this little light on it and see if it.
Okay, yeah, it does. It's M. Definitely an M right there.
In a way, it looks like Mary. It looks like M-A-R-Y from here. Uh-huh.
I see the R-Y, and I see the M, the A, the R, and
Okay, well then it's Mary. But isn't that carved?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I thought that was a carving right there, but maybe it is.
Or what if it's a V?
I think it is Mary. Yeah, y'all are right. Okay, we got a line here. There. There. Yeah, that's Mary. M-A-R. Yeah, Mary, yeah.
there's something to be said for just having a name.
Yeah, isn't there?
To go from not having that to having that is so.
Nothing else around it that might have
I don't know.
a name on it either.
If ever there's one that looks like it should be carved, it would be this
It
one.
looks like they went to the time and effort to round the top of this one. Yeah, you would think that they might have scratched a name on it too, but I don't see one. And I don't know, there's a sunken spot here and there, so I don't know if that's a headstone or a footstone. I'm guessing that it's a headstone as well because I don't see anything at the foot of the other one, or at the head of the other one. I
All
mean.
right, well, let's keep going. Briley's gotten a little bit ahead of us and found some of the marked graves, but we're not going to go there just yet where the graves actually have names on them. We've got more indentions here, lots of graves packed in tight on top of this hill here. But this is what I thought was one of the most interesting aspects of this cemetery is we usually don't see fieldstone box tombs in burial grounds for people who were enslaved. What's your take on these, Dan?
That they are indeed very, very early slave burials. This is the highest point in the cemetery. This is the most desirable spot in the cemetery for burial. This would be where the cemetery started. This would be where this spot was reserved for the most prominent person in this cemetery. This would be the very beginning, or it would have been reserved for future use of whoever owned the land or whoever the most prominent person was to be buried here someday. But there's like 4 graves that I see here in a row. These were, there was a lot of effort put into marking these graves. This is not something that is common in this part of Harris, Talbot County. We haven't mentioned, we're in northwest Harris County, and this is a well-known plantation for the Hutchinson family, or the land around here was. But you know, it could be, there's all kind of theories about this. This could have been someone who owned this land before the Hutchinsons came here. This could have been a family cemetery for those people and some of their slaves around them. This almost looks like it was leveled off here. See how it drops off right over there?
Yeah. And we've got some more rocks scattered over there, and I can't tell if that's maybe an old wall kind of thing, or, you know, I don't know. We'll look at it closer. But you do have, it is terraced. You see it's terraced.
Yeah.
Right there. There's a terrace there. but it only is terraced, I think, on this corner here.
Yeah.
But you can kind of follow it around right there where this is terraced.
This could have been a family of slaves, you know, that died in the early settlement days. It could have been early landowners. I don't know. There's no way of knowing for certain now. But it is very impressive. These are large stones that were transported here.
That's an interesting stone.
It really is.
I was hoping that maybe it was carved or something, but
Does it have nothing up here at the top of it, up at the very top?
I don't think so. But
I don't think it does.
And it's definitely not falling over. That was placed there because that's a big rock, and it's only flat on the top. It's less level on the bottom. Man, if only they had carved a name in that. Let's look at this one though. I mean, we've got one here. This isn't a box tomb, but it is, you know, covered in rock.
Yeah.
There was the other one covered in rock behind Dan. And then there's this, which this is interesting. Do you think that this was a child? Or this is like, these are really big rocks, but they're obviously stacked here.
I believe that's a child's grave. That's an adult.
Oh. Maybe not.
That looks like something on there.
I should have brought my glasses with me. I don't think so.
Be careful around that rock hole, that hole there.
Yeah, I know. I've seen one too many rattlesnakes in old box tombs today. No, I don't think there's any marking on it or any name on it. Now, what do you make of this? You know, I said a minute ago, I thought maybe a wall or something. I mean, it's obviously terraced right here, but...
Yeah. This is a grave here that I believe somebody has dug into.
I believe you're right. Look, someone did the same thing with this.
These rocks have been thrown over here, and someone, look at that, someone dug a hole here.
Yeah.
That's quite obvious.
Right
See
there where the head would be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Well,
Sun setting in the western sky, so the head would be up here because
Up there.
it faces east.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe someone didn't know and took a guess.
I think it's just, we're not how far from the other Hutchinson Cemetery.
That one got grave robbed really bad, you're right.
Really. I mean, many times.
Yeah.
And we're not, what, a mile from there? Half a mile?
Yeah, exactly. You're right. I forgot about that. I was just remembering your story that someone used to take post hole diggers and dig down to find a skull or something.
Yeah.
But
This is an old grave robbery.
Yeah.
They've definitely been disturbed.
Yeah. They have.
There's a
So that's dug
upright one.
that far deep, which is that's going to be in the burial, because these old burials weren't 6 foot under like a lot of people think. They were, you know, sometimes as shallow as like 2 feet. Right when you said that, I was noticing that this one has been disturbed too. We can see that big rock was flipped off of it. That may be why that one looks kind of disturbed. So that big rock was flipped off. That should be flipped back right here. And we've got all of this that is obviously disturbed. What Dan just said that I didn't think about, the other Hutchinson Cemetery, which dates back to 1858, was the first burial. The last burial was about 1903. The other Hutchinson Cemetery, I'm actually kind of in the middle of doing a restoration on it. I have 2 graves left to fix, and the reason that we are doing that restoration on that cemetery is it was grave robbed repeatedly. The last time that is known about was in the 1970s. Grave robbers came out, and then there was the occult stuff and witchcraft, even though it was fake witchcraft, that people would do out there and just vandalize, destroy. I didn't think about that in association with this one, but you're right. There was grave robbing going on here too, which is a shame. I'm standing in a row of graves right now, and I just want to point this out because we've walked across so many and I haven't pointed it out. We've got indention, fieldstone at head and foot, and this is just a row. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and it just keeps going as far as I can see without my glasses on. So if we go around this way, we go into another row. We see indention right there. Look what I just stepped on. I didn't even see it. That's going to be a fieldstone marking a grave. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it keeps going that way. But we're not going to go that way. We're going to go this way because we do actually have some marked graves here. Now, one thing that's interesting, Dan, is we were talking about the fact that the oldest part of the cemetery would be on top of the hill, which is normally what we run into. But these graves that are actually marked are a little bit newer than I would expect to be on top of the hill. And we've got several different interesting burial markers here. We do have the very, very common stamped concrete. This is one of the few grave markers, other than marble, that is commonly used in both African American and white burials of the late 1800s, early 1900s. Usually the burial styles are very different, our burial marker styles are very different, but not in the case of these. These are something that we generally associate with like Talbot County and Marion County, not so much Harris County, right? So it's interesting to see them here. And if you will grab this, I will try to read this. I think I've got all the names before. It says, in memory of Victoria Davison, wife of L.H. Hutchinson, born 1846. So she was probably on the Davison Plantation, right? Or Davidson, which was nearby. She died December 13th, 1901.
These are well built.
Yep.
These are step style.
And there's probably a big epitaph that we will never be able to read because it wears off so quickly on here. It's so hard to read these.
It really is. There's a lot of writing on there.
Yeah, it is. Dear Mother, can't read it. It's so hard to read this old stamping on this concrete. You can definitely see probably our dear mother.
These graves are all alike in this row here.
Yeah. I don't mean to skip ahead, but I do want to point this out real quick. These are marble wash tops, or dry sink, is that the name of it?
The old marble top wash stands.
Wash stands, that's
Yeah.
right. These are 2 marble wash stands that were repurposed to mark a grave. All right, so we've got the name here. This is going to be Hutchinson. This is probably going to be the husband.
Joel, that's poison ivy. Are you allergic to poison ivy? That's what that is.
This right here?
It's those 3 leaves.
This?
Yeah. You know, I'm not allergic to poison ivy. I actually touch it all day long. Luke Hutchinson, born 1841. This is definitely going to be L.H. Hutchinson, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Died 1914. Nope, 1911. Exact date of death is almost gone. Something 24th. It looked February 24th, 1911. Now what I'm going to do with this is concrete, and this is that old concrete, and it is very, very soft. That's why we can't read the engravings on the top of these, because it's been pounded by rain over the years and erodes really quickly. This is broken off, knocked over. I have, like I was saying earlier, I've done a restoration on the Hutchinson Cemetery that's nearby here. This one, I'd like to come back and put this headstone back up as well on this. I think it'd be the right thing to do since I've done the other one that's nearby. So I'm going to go ahead and move this one and hope there's not any big rattlesnakes living under it. No snake. It was plastered at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and move this one and just lean it against this tree now. That'll just get it out of the rain for now. Stand it up, lean it there. I'll come back, glue it back together so at least it's going to be standing up and out of the rain. With the rain beating on the face of it, it's just going to wear it out. Even if, I have to come back in a few months, it'll be a few months it doesn't get rained on, even though it's been rained on for years. I got to borrow your light again, and we're going to read this last marked grave out here. At least as far as I know, this is the last one. In memory of Mrs. Riddy, that's R-I-D-D-I-E, wife of
Lyman, L-Y-M-O-N.
L-Y-M-O-N, Lyman. Dude, there's like a local plantation name represented at every one of these graves.
Yeah.
We've got Davison, we've got Hutchinson, and Ridgeway. Those are three big plantations here I know of. Wife of Lyman Ridgeway, born June 24th, 1888, I believe. 1888. Died. Can you read that any better, Dan?
September 8, 1916.
So there we go. Lyman Ridgeway, Luke Hutchinson, Victoria Davidson Hutchinson over there. That's a representation of the big three plantations that were right here, which is right on this road, basically. I mean, Davidson was a little bit further away, but I know the Ridgeways and the Hutchinsons were here.
So here we go with another rock tomb.
Yes. I actually forgot about that one. I didn't see that one the first time I was here.
Now we have a mound of dirt here. I wonder if this is from a tree that toppled over, or did someone dig a hole there?
The ground's disturbed. Yeah, someone dug a hole right here. Right where all those leaves are piled up. I think there's a hole there. Let me see that. Oh yeah, look at that. That's another dug up grave for sure. That stick is going all the way down.
So I wonder.
See?
Yeah.
That's a dug up grave.
I wonder what kind of marker was there.
Right.
That caused someone's interest to be piqued in this particular grave.
Yeah, and if there was an actual marker with it, it could be in the hole. That's where I found some of the Hutchinson markers, down in the hole.
Why would someone have selected that to dig into?
That's a good question. It was a really good question. Unless there's a marker, like a fine marble marker or something anywhere covered up, or there's something right there.
Whatever it is deep.
Yeah, you see that. Maybe it was just hitting that rock just right. I'm going to, so I'm not trying to disturb the burial that's been dug into by prodding around in it, but I'm feeling for any kind of marker. At the Hutchinson Cemetery, when we were dealing with some of the dug up graves there, the markers had just been tossed into the grave that they had dug up. I don't know. It's a shame that those marble pieces are not engraved right there, the old wash stands, or the washstand tops. I'm surprised somebody didn't steal those too while they were grave robbing. So as far as markers go, that's just about it. But this cemetery is huge. It is just a huge cemetery. It keeps going that way down the hill. If you look down there, maybe you can see the truck down there. That's the side of the hill that we walked up, covered in graves down there. It comes all the way up here. It goes that way. It goes this way. We're standing in the middle of all the graves on the top of the hill right now. It keeps going this way, and it goes that way for another row of 10 graves, if I recall correctly. It keeps going that way. How many graves are here, in your estimation?
This is so much bigger than that Bonetown Cemetery
It
that
is.
we went to.
And that was 300
And that was,
graves.
Yeah.
I mean, Bonetown was like the size of the top of this hill and a half or something like that.
Yeah. It's much bigger than that.
Yeah, it's 600 graves?
At least.
Yeah.
At least.
This is just an absolutely incredible cemetery. There are so many graves out here. It blows my mind. It definitely deserves a return visit. I want to look closer at every fieldstone that's planted in the ground out here to see if any more are engraved. We found the 2 that were. We've got really interesting names out here. The Ridgeway, Davison, Hutchinson. Those are 3 large plantation owners that were right here. Now these are the burial ground of the enslaved. And the Ridgeway, Davidson, Hutchinsons were all connected, both the enslaved and their descendants, and the white Ridgeways and Davidsons and Hutchinsons were also connected and intermarried. So it's really interesting to see those names come together in both cases. For example, the owner of the Ridgeway plantation was actually one of the witnesses on L.D. Hutchinson's will. So that's an interesting connection there too.
I'd like to thank the leaseholder on this land for allowing you to come out here and
Yes.
document this place. It's getting to be warm weather here. Leaves are starting to put out, snakes are starting to crawl, and turkey season is in. So that's why I have on my orange vest. You kind of let me lead the way today with the target on my shoulder, on my back.
Well, I was hoping they weren't going to shoot at you.
Yeah, but I'd like to give a shout out and thank our friend Diane in Kentucky for making this vest. She made this by hand.
Really?
Every stitch. She made and made all these little, put these hooks on here, and the best thing of all is the back of it. Did you see the back?
I know, we're hunting for history today.
How you like
That's
that?
it. That's incredible. That is really
And
incredible.
this is really the first opportunity I've had to wear it.
Yeah.
And because I didn't get to do a whole lot of videos this last winter, and when we did go out, hunting season wasn't really in.
Right.
But thank you, Diane, and I guess we'll be back up here when it gets a little cooler.
Or warmer. Either way.
Maybe you can come back up here when it gets warmer.
It's a heck of a climb up here. I got to say too, shout out to the little flashlight that's attached to your vest, because I forgot my flashlight
That's
today.
right.
Joy forgot her flashlight. Dan had his flashlight.
That's right. If you had brought your flashlight today, we wouldn't have
Gotten to use it.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
have gotten to use that.
So that's a happy little mistake, just like what's his name said when he was painting. Bob Ross. So incredible cemetery here, and big shout out to the leaseholder. I never would have known that this was here if it weren't for him. He told me about it. He came up here and showed it to me. It blew my mind because I forgot something.
What?
In the William Davidson wrote about the Hutchinson Cemetery, and he said out behind the wall of the Hutchinson Cemetery were 4 box tombs.
Yeah.
that were graves of early settlement graves, is what he described them. There are not 4 box tombs out behind the wall of the Hutchinson Cemetery. Do you think he was? But here's the big kicker to this, and I should have included this at the beginning of the video. Hopefully, people are watching this long, because this is actually pretty important to this story and why it was such a big deal for me to find this place. In the restoration and research of the Hutchinson Cemetery, the White Hutchinson Cemetery, Bill Davidson had written that behind the wall of the Hutchinson Cemetery were 4 box tombs that marked graves of early settlers. He said, and behind those were graves of enslaved people. Behind the wall of the Hutchinson Cemetery, there is 1 box tomb and no graves of enslaved people. So Bill Davidson's description was wrong, but up here there are 4 box tombs and burials of enslaved.
So it's entirely possible that Mr. Hutchinson might have gotten his notes mixed up. Even though he knew this land, knew the area very well, he did, you know, he admitted to me on several occasions that he was human, and especially the people who typed up his books were human, and occasionally they would crisscross things in there, and he pointed out a few things that he would have done over if he had had the opportunity. But when you put a book together, it's hard to completely, you know, cross every T and dot every I. But
we make mistakes all the time on
yeah.
video. Like you just said, Mr. Hutchinson got his notes mixed up,
But
and you meant Mr. Davidson.
Yeah, that's right, Mr. Davison, Mr. Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Hutchinson and Davis, but his name is William Hutchinson Davison.
Really?
Yeah,
I
that was
didn't
his
know
name.
that. William H. Hutchinson.
William
H. Davidson.
William Hutchinson Davison.
William
That was his
Hutchinson
name.
Davidson.
But
yeah.
they called him Bill.
Yeah, Bill Davidson.
Bill Davison.
Yeah. So that, to me, I always wonder where the enslaved graves that he described, they're here,
They're
not
here.
there. And there's 4 box tombs that he described as early settlement graves, but he may not have known exactly either, because that's all he said.
I don't think there are any slave graves around that.
There are
cemetery
no
at
slave
all.
graves around the White Hutchinson Cemetery. We'll be back here. We're going to do some more research. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.